Hello folks, welcome to the Canal Channel Jose. Today we're going to talk about why my car jerks or wants to shut down when I'm driving, and then suddenly I step on the gas and I floor it, and then the car starts like it wants to go and it doesn't want to go. It wants to go, it doesn't want to go. Then you let off the gas and then everything just starts cruising normal, and then if you floor it again, it starts doing the same. So what can cause this? So cars are equipped with filters so we can purify the air or the oil, depends on what we need to protect. So for example, in the oil, we have oil filters that we need to replace every oil change, or is recommended to replace it in every single oil change. And then the air filter is good or recommended to replace it at so much time, depending on the air filter, the quality of it, or the driving conditions where you drive, a dusty area or a cleaner area. And it's good to check it if there's any debris caught in it, so you want to replace it. But these filters, they're not the cause of your car. When you step on the throttle or you step on the gas all the way down and your car wants to shut down and it starts shaking and it wants to cut off and it wants to turn off, but it comes on, it's alternating off, on, off, but quick, they're not the cause. But these items are. The fuel filter might be the component that is causing that fuel from being cut off into the engine, because these fuel filters are made to capture and filter all the fuel going from the fuel tank into the engine. And when that engine is getting all that fuel and is being purified by this component, this component is capturing all those debris and eventually it's going to get clogged. So if we drive into different areas of the countries and then we start filling up in different areas, we don't know the quality of the gas. That's why they threw these guys into the car so they can filter the gasoline before going into your injectors, because those components are really fine components. So this guy has to be replaced after so many thousand miles. So because these guys are meant to last long, but they're not meant to be there forever. They need to be replaced. So what's happening is that the fuel, when we press the gas, we got normal demand, we're asking for regular driving conditions, and once we step or floor into the gas, this component doesn't allow any more fuel than the normal, because this fuel filter is getting clogged, and we never put that engine under stress, or we never had to floor it too often. When we floor that, when we press the pedal all the way to the ground, what's happening, all the fuel is not going through. So when the engine, when we open the throttle body and more air goes into the engine, there's not enough fuel going through this fuel filter. So that's why your vehicle is wants to shut down, but it's because there's fuel going through it. It just barely feeds any fuel here and there. So that's why the engine stays on. But if you released it, the engine comes back to normal, because there's enough fuel going through the fuel filter. And if you floor it again, this is starving the system on the engine, because this is obstructing the flow of fuel, because there's not enough demand going into the engine. There's enough fuel coming into the filter, but it's not enough going out. So if there's an obstruction, so there's a restriction of fuel in this area. So this system, when you ask for more fuel, there's a decrease of volume, but then there's not enough volume going through to ask to fill up that demand. That's why these filters need to be replaced. So if you have that cost, this might be your first thing that you want to replace, your fuel filter, because the car might be wants to turn off and on when you put it under stress. So the other component that might be causing this problem in your car is the fuel pump strainer. Usually these components are in the fuel tank, so they're attached to the fuel pump and they can come off. So it's a fuel pump strainer, and usually they go into the fuel pump in the bottom, and once you put them on, it becomes the first filtering system on the fuel system. So this is a strainer. This is for the bigger debris in the tank, so nothing goes into the fuel pump that can damage it. There might be smaller particles or smaller debris, but the fuel pump is able to push that through the system, and then it gets caught into the fuel filter. So this is for the bigger debris, this is for the finer debris. So if your car, you replace the fuel filter and the car is still causing that kind of wants to turn on and off when you're driving, then your strainer might be the next thing that you want to replace, because they actually build a little layer in there that doesn't let the fuel go through, and this can be a problematic situation. So next time that you press down into the gas all the way down and your car wants to shut down and it comes back on and off and on and off, change your fuel filter. And if that doesn't take care of the problem, then you have a bad strainer on the fuel tank. You want to replace that as well, because we learned in the hard way that the strainer was causing this a problem when every time we floor it, that the car would wants to shut down, and it was because the fuel on our gas tank wasn't being sent to the engine in high volume, so it was just barely some fuel to get the engine barely running. So once we replaced the fuel filter, that improved, but then we had to go into the tank and replace the strainer in the fuel pump, and that took care of the problem. So if you're having this scenario, start by replacing your fuel filter, and then if that doesn't get rid of the problem, go and check into the fuel tank if your strainer needs to be replaced, because that's the next thing that can cause this problem. So it all depends on the year and the make of the make of the car. If the car is fairly new, then it's kind of weird for it to do this. But if it has some time into it, then you want to check the fuel filter and then the strainer, and probably hopefully you can get the car back to normal, where you don't have to worry about it every time you step on the gas. Well, folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful. And for folks who are having some issues, and then your car you think is your fuel filter, replace the fuel filter, because it's the cheapest you can do to your car, and it's gonna save you a lot of money. And if that was a problem, then you solve that problem, and you don't have to take it to different shops where they're gonna take your money when you could have done it yourself. So also, if that doesn't take care of the problem, then it might be the strainer and the fuel tank, and it all depends on the age of the car, like we said. So replace some of those components if you can do it yourself, so you can start saving money and getting to learn your car as well. So with that said, folks, for our friends who are watching the video, haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like a video, give us a thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here in el canal El Chano Jose.